Since my last video on the commentary community's civil war may have lost viewers who haven't been keeping up with the events at the end of 2024 and throughout 2025, I think it's worth stepping back and revisiting some of the key developments that led us into 2026. It's become increasingly clear that many older commentary channels have issues with newer waves of commentary creators or drama streamers that have emerged in recent years. There were multiple instances, both major and minor, that contributed to this growing divide between the old guard and this new wave that's emerged. This video will serve as an overview of the most important moments that helped spark that fracture. The event that seems to have set much of this into motion was the New Year's 2024 stream featuring Chud Logic, Turkey Tom, Rags, and AugieRFC. Before diving into the main criticisms Tommy C raised about that event and the broader drama surrounding Chud Logic, I want to start off with a side conflict mentioned in that stream.
Don't play dumb now. See, all of a sudden they bring it up. You're like, I've never even been
Colton
there.
literally took
You were literally
Lego
there
around.
with Kinetic Cal and Colton and Aiden Projects and
Aiden Projects wasn't invited.
Charm
That's why he
Skull.
made the stream. Dude, unironically, Aiden is like way more into this than I am. Fucking Aiden wrote me
into what?
at Christmas.
Into Kinetic Hell?
No, into this whole topic. He wrote me on Christmas saying like, stay away from Kinetic Hell.
These smaller instances might seem minor on their own, but they were sort of underplayed factors in the gradual fractioning of the community. Understanding the details around the drama surrounding Kinetic Hell isn't really important, but the way Kinetic Hell will be used moving forward in this crap here. In a stream made private by Lerix, someone who used to do commentary content till he changed to music review and left the commentary scene alone from then.
I'm not suicidal. I'm not suicidal. For anything that happens to me after showing these on stream. We have the Nicholas DeOrio DMs. What is this? Soul Skibbities just sent it to me.
On the stream, he went over leaked DMs by Nicholas DeOrio in regards to Kinetic Hell. The most important part of this DM reveal is relevant to a certain event that I want to highlight in relations to Tommy C.
Not suicidal. True lol. Also, I saw you did an interview with Tommy. That's cool. Dude, thank you. Obviously room for technical improvements, but he's the best. It was super fun.
Combined with some colored commentary from Lerix earlier in the stream.
You wanted a bit of the Kinetic Cal, situation. Come on.
I'm being honest with you. I would never lie to you. I would lie to other people, but not to you. You're my exception, all right?
Okay, man.
You're the exception. This is when I legitimately clocked.
Did Morale want it? Colton, I'm waiting on these screenshots, buddy. Did Morale want it? Is there another mistruth here? Because at the end of the day, if the man's trying to get his goon on, all power to you. You could get your goon on, all right? If he's trying to get into it, as long as she's over age, that's cool, man. That's cool, okay? Clearly, Kristen Ark and Tommy C, they were getting their fair share in, man. They were, whatever they were doing on this side of the fence, okay? So, Morale wanted to get on. Okay, dude, come on.
Now, this might not seem like much, given the state of commentary community, and these are the kind of things that most of the audience will just brush off as jokes or humor at the time. Still, when you look back at them with hindsight and really start to wonder.
She went to Aiden. When Aiden stopped talking to her, she went to Colton. When Colton stopped talking to her,
I'm still
she's now
standing.
Hanging around now recording, so she's talking to Becky
I'm
a lot.
still
in them.
standing.
Oh god.
So I think she's going to grab who she can get. I think she's going to latch on to whoever she can.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's anything like that crazy. I'm not sat here like morally outraged about it. It's just I'm guessing
I think it's funny.
Yeah, it's funny, and also I'm just personally disappointed a bit because I'm like, well, how did fucking like Nicholas and Augie and Tommy C not see through this? Like, it just feels like a woman comes along.
I don't know
about things like why are they bringing this up and judging people completely unrelated to this drama with Kinetic Gal just because they talked to her before. I really hope people don't bring this back up later with all this freaking context here.
According to Dicker's 5-hour interview, this minor drama
that Chud touched on, I think Lerix touched on, has become a major event for those who want to be bigger drama YouTubers. In this particular thing, she basically got piled on, and everybody got all their frustrations out of bubbly old Kel, the type of YouTuber that they hate, that they don't want. They got back at her, right? And well, it developed something. It developed this.
Like,
She's
even leaned into it.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, I serenaded her.
She's a pretty girl.
What?
I'm not going to say she's not a pretty girl. She's definitely my type.
Yeah, I'm 14, and he randomly sent me his dick over Discord.
So Kel's conversation produced that. That's what it did. And let's be abundantly clear. I only met Kel in November or whenever the hell I did the interview. I think she's around 23. So when she's 14, it was 9 years ago. So she wasn't talking about me. I'm not sure what she was talking about because I didn't watch the interview.
So after the New Year's 2024 stream happened, which I'll be coming back to in the Tommy C vs. Chud logic section, let's move on to January 20th, where President Sunday puts out his video and, more importantly, is more about how the different people in commentary were covering this video, especially due to the choices President Sunday made with his inclusion of DeOrio in the video and how he went about doing it. Well, besides Chud logic, since he was on vacation at the time.
I, as an ex-slave, now must go over. Now, of course, I understand there's a lot of discourse. I'm very late to this. I kind of feel like I've turned up to a party at 6 a.m. Everyone's already drunk and all the booze is gone. That's how I feel coming to this so late. But obviously, for those of you that don't know, I was on vacation. So, just an inopportune time to take a vacation.
My only question would have been, why would Chud think?
I thought everyone would be talking about politics to the inauguration. Turns out I was very wrong. Turns out I was very fucking wrong and this big fucking drama popped off. I will obviously give a bit of extra context for the things that I know a bit more about behind the scenes from my perspective.
Especially if you knew stuff behind the scenes. Especially given what Nick said in his own stream on it.
Beer stuff. Probably one of the most absurd allegations that I've seen in years on YouTube. Now, it's been kind of cooking for a couple of weeks. Bits and pieces have been getting leaked privately behind the scenes, but ultimately, it falls on the girl. If the girl doesn't want this stuff to be published, who the fuck am I to come out and decide that it's going to be? I'm not Captain Save-A-Ho. That's not my job.
Oh, sorry. That was from Queeman's stream going over what Nick said in his stream. The point still stands. And sure, maybe Chud Logic really didn't think too deeply about how these things that were getting leaked behind the scenes would take more time to materialize into a video, much less two videos from two people that he knows from his Twitch poll days. How could he know they would do such a quick job on these videos? I just don't know. I guess... Yeah, let me move on. It seems like an odd timing for vacation. Just a couple of people, including me. But let me not go too far in that direction and brace some tinfoil ideas out there. Nevertheless, this is a minor bump on the road to understanding what kicked off the event that would divide the commentary community. Why these videos did have some scrutiny to them really wasn't until WillyMac's video on Destiny that things really got kind of hairy out there. Now, this sort of internal strife with criticism out there has happened a few times before, and it's made for decent content overall. You know, disagreeing over someone's video or their take on a drama. Nothing new. A collaborative effort does sometimes yield in greater results. The most notable one that I can really sort of mention is the sort of Mr. Beast, Ava Chris Tyson, sort of hullabaloo drama. It isn't really something I care to get deeply into it, but be aware it happened because this wasn't the first time this sort of thing happened. but that set of things didn't really cause the same sort of long-term issues between these individual commentators in these little groups, at least at the time, and to anyone really major in commentary. Now, why the lines weren't quite clear, this was basically old commentary versus a newer commentary, where the gray zone between the two is sort of filled in the gaps.
The conversation, there was Bulblax, and then there was Kinetic Kel. And it's like, I instigated all three of those conversations.
Dude, the Kinetic Kel the Nick, that was awesome.
Dude, no, before that, dude, Tommy C, he's a commentary OG. He comes from a different time, he's
sometimes you gotta take the old dog, out back.
I have people saying that me and Nick need to give him a fireside.
With the criticism that came off as
a lot of like hyper nitpicking.
With the most interesting sort of critique of it, I say that with air quotes, coming from Queeman saying the video failed because it didn't make a pattern of behavior argument against Destiny.
About demonstrating a pattern of behavior, showing what Destiny actually does.
Like, is that really even needed? Funny enough, despite it's not even a position AugieRFC can really defend when he goes up against Nick when that comes time to discuss it on stream.
Wait, why does it need that?
Been orchestrated because it's Destiny, dude. We're in Team Destiny death. It's fucking time to destroy this motherfucker, all right?
He's making the if he's explaining the Pixie allegations, why does he need to include a pattern of behavior from stuff he said 15 years ago, 10 years ago, 8 years ago?
Because it makes for a better video.
To telling Pixie's story. A better video, sure. I'm not trying to rank them on a tier list, but like, why does that make his video lazy or bad if he only covered the stuff that he thought was relevant?
Well,
because it sounds like you're giving a subjective opinion for an objective fact.
Well, my opinion on the videos that it's mediocre. If he wants to make it, sure, that's fine. I'm not saying he has to do certain things or whatever, right?
Because as you find out, AugieRFC sort of deflects from actually addressing this due to...
Based on what I heard from like the Queeman stream, the arguments that I heard being brought up to WillyMac or whatever.
So, by using other people's criticism of WillyMac's video,
I thought they were valid.
Something he really doesn't even have to defend or something he has to formula on his own. You know what? That sounds pretty
lazy or bad
to me. Hence why I'm pulling from Queeman's VOD titled Nicholas DeOrio's Brutal Debate with Best Friend instead of Augie's stream, because most of these aren't even really coming from Augie, it seems. And let me just demonstrate how dumb and dishonest some of criticisms from Queeman actually are.
Nick, stop backseat driving, dog pack. Obviously, it's not the same. He spread false claims and all that shit. I'm taking the piss out of the idea that it's backseat driving to critique a drama video. Such a stupid proposition.
It's like, well, I would have done this, and well, I would have done that.
Yeah. What was Willy doing to Sunday then?
Calling out his obvious false claims.
When he was talking with WillyMac, he said he spoke directly to lawyers, but won't mention who.
So Sunday is just lying to make the victim seem like a bad guy so he doesn't look insane for making his...
Obviously. Is he not paying attention? Oh, in case you didn't know, what I mean by Twitch Bull is short for Twitch political scene that is dominated by people like Destiny, Hassan, and Asmongold at the moment. But the point being is that Chud Logic sort of got out of that scene because of many things I don't want to go into here. And the refugee was welcomed by the commentary community for the most part because of his coverage of Super Mega, a couple of other little things, and the Mama Max coverage. So it makes sense Queeman leveraged his connections to Chud Logic to come along for the ride, along with plenty of other Twitch poll rejects. Arena where Destiny had, and unfortunately still has, significant influence. So by doing this, Queeman can weaponize a different community that is more tolerant of the bad tactics he likes to hide behind humor. Which is only natural because that is a natural bug or maybe feature of the commentary community. depending on anyone's opinion on that matter and who really gets to use it and for how it should be used, most of these Twitch poll rejects could have frankly even got away with continuing on doing so with certain targets. But because either Queeman doesn't understand or most likely doesn't care about the standards that some people in the commentary community still try to follow and uphold, at least in spirit, to varying degrees, he probably could have gotten away with it. That was until Queeman made it very painfully obvious he was using these sort of tactics against those in the commentary community to absurd, over-the-top degree even. It's a very reductive, binary sort of view of discourse online that you're either with us or with destiny sort of attitude that relies more on creating a grand narrative using the flimsiest amount of supporting evidence based off of, well, not much at all. But you keep on building the case for it, which I wouldn't have a problem with, but it's so inconsistent that even a literal shithead can sort of point this out.
I'm telling you for a fact, the reason that President Sunday section is there is because WillyMac contacted Erudite and had Erudite tell him 90% of the story. She guided him through making that video. She was working with Sunday and Kilo. Jesus Christ, I'm choking. Sorry,
I don't see what the point is here with that. So you're saying, okay,
let's
say
feeding
there's a
information
drama.
back and forwards, trying to create a PR piece for Destiny, fundamentally. That's what Erudite wanted. And Willy let her do it, basically.
Which, by the way, the only way that schizo theory could even work at all whatsoever is if Queeman had access to DMs, which he doesn't have. The same lack of access he uses as an excuse to not comment on the Cherry and Just Ilk drama that was happening around the same time.
If they both leaked all their DMs, maybe I'd be able to come to a conclusion here, but I just can't.
Not that those in the old guard of the commentary community live up to these ideal standards of the commentary community perfectly, but at least many of them try to keep some level of consistency and try to build whatever narratives they need around facts, evidence, and a line of logic that can be argued and even defended.
What, you and Sunday angry at each other over exactly? I don't.
So I think this is just simple. Basically what happened is I was initially recorded without my consent. I was given about 12 hours of warning that the video is coming out. My expectation was that it was probably going to be clipped badly. That was what I was preparing for. It wasn't. He put out 30 minutes or whatever. Fine. I don't think I sounded super bad in it. I don't think I sounded bad at all in it. I think the stupidest thing I did was talk to him in the first place. That was
I was just watching what you covered. It just seemed like you felt like the video was like coming after you.
I'm annoyed that he kind of portrayed it as if I was a willing participant in this story and that I worked. Because again, you got internet anarchists in my chat saying that he thought I worked with him to create the video, and I don't like that he didn't disclose. Like, look at the title of his fucking interview with me. Like, Nick comes forward, as if this is like my public position on these dramas. And whatever I said in those calls was based on less information than I even have now. This is my first stream going through all the information, getting it together.
I mean,
and I'm going to be held to those positions, even if they're not intended to be my public ones.
I don't expect Internet Anarchist to have a good take on this because Moist Critical hasn't said anything yet, so I don't put much stock in his opinion.
I have to wonder sometimes how these guys have been so successful and
worm my way into
the commentary community. Something WillyMacShow prevented Xanderall from doing before. Well, at least according to Chud Logic's video title.
Absolute genius saying this all on a stream. I'm going to worm my way in there.
There also seems to be a broader pattern among the people from the Twitch poll space over the last few years coming in. They've used the very public failings of certain commentary channels, which I actually agree with. A couple of these things being brought up and out in the sunlight to get disinfected. But that doesn't change. They use these sort of things to act all buddy and buddy with these old guard commentary people most notably with the Muda Mama Max situation, to gain influence within the commentary community, why eroding away some of the bigger names in the scene. Some of them I don't even think should have been considered at the top of the list. I'm not even saying this stuff is necessarily a bad thing. I mean, it definitely seems like a sort of infiltration of a kind, only for them to abandon the gradual gains they made once they saw an opportunity to go after Destiny. Now, this is just a guess, a possibility that Chud Logic wasn't sure yet if he wanted to fully make that leap alongside the rest of the Twitch poll refugees like his orbiter, Guiman. Because even after this event went down, the bridges were still mostly intact between everyone involved. Because disagreement does not have to become a full-born campaign. Unless you're Guiman, that is. And there's definitely criticism for people who let Guiman run wild, rampant, throughout this and try to monopolize it at a later point. Why doing this whole performative I disavow.
Should not have let this autoplay, obviously. This is obviously a really fucking stupid thing to do. And you shouldn't let this autoplay on your stream because you are, even accidentally, broadcasting someone's docs information.
The main point I'm getting at is this so-called new commentary group operates under a very different set of standards than people who stayed in the genre more long-term. Most people get out of commentary if you look at the history of it. It's amazing Tommy C stayed in so long. This is very likely why Tommy C was one of the first people to notice the shift happening here. This change didn't happen overnight, which is also probably why Xander Hall's attempt to worm his way into the community ultimately failed. If a frog's put suddenly into boiling water, it will jump out. But if the frog is put in tepid water, which is then brought to a boil slowly, it will not be perceived the dangers and will be cooked. Going back to the Mama Max drama in particular, because that became a key moment that enabled a lot of these new commentary figures to integrate with the older generation. Lerix and Chud Logic were probably the two most prominent figures from new commentary who was making their names in the lead up and in the aftermath of that shit show. With Lerix coming up through small commentary circles, adopting the model, becoming a leader, and sort of odd that a couple months into this, he sort of got out of the commentary community. Go figure. With Chud Logic being one of the Twitch poll refugees who made the switch over rather successfully. But let me not get ahead of myself. As I said before, Tommy C was one of the first people, at least publicly, to point out much of this. At least among anyone with any sway at all within the community.
Can't come right out on it because they don't know what's coming out. And remember what Nick said, you don't know A, if this girl's going to change her mind, or B, if she's going to get her money, and C, she didn't want it to come out. That's why Craig and President Sunday are listed in the lawsuit. You know who's not listed in the lawsuit? The old school lame commentary guys. Nicholas DeOrio isn't listed in it. WillyMax not listed at it. No, it's just kind of the Queeman crowd and the spicy chat crowd that are listed in it. So that to me, I don't know what that is. Maybe, I know the Bowbacks isn't an honest mistake, but that really, really rubs me the wrong way. And it's why I don't really have anything to do with Chud. It's why nobody goes on Chud anymore. Because we don't know what's true and what isn't.
Now, how Tommy C came to his conclusions may be questionable, but as with people such as Mama Max and John Swan, something he tends to take shit for in the short term. Now, maybe, just maybe, there's an argument that he's just stupid rather than brave by speaking out about these people who tend to have the community support on their side, at least optically that is, despite how bullshit is some of their arguments and logic really are. Like in the case of Mama Max, especially since success versus failure is often treated as the metric that separates those two things. But I see that constant, well, there's an argument for X of any type, framing as cowardly or dishonest way to avoid dealing with the reality of what's actually happening. Something Tommy C characterizes slightly differently than me.
Now I'm going to get into why I really can't stand this guy. And this is one small example that I bet you've run into before. I'll give you a hint that you see this all the time. He's talking out both sides of his mouth, saying something's good and bad in the same sentence. This is my personal favorite. Thanks, Willie Mac, because he reminded me.
Has Willie Mac ever received any funding or payment from Destiny, Dan Saltman, or anyone else associated with...
So the guy is accusing him of being compromised, and Chud will dismiss it.
Liberal Studios, that's Destiny's media company.
Not a single dollar.
This is fucking stupid, man. Like, this is
stupid.
The problem, is like, there is a point to be made there, but these, like, you know, these videos go overboard and go to these kind of like conspiracies that there's money changing hands and stuff like that. There's not money changing hands. It's much simpler than that. But what you want about money changing hands? That's ridiculous. But yes, there is. You're onto something, but you're going.
What are you up to? It's the same fucking shit over and over again. He's on both sides of every issue. I don't know how anybody guys can listen to him other than maybe he's entertaining or funny, because there's a point to be made there, and we're going to see this a lot because this goes to the heart of both Queeman and Chud. They don't criticize, they attack your credibility, and that's a credibility attack.
The ironic part in all of this is Tommy Z makes the pattern of behavior argument that Queeman wanted from Willie Mac, but that's when it came to Destiny. When it's done against Chud logic,
Video and tell me that I didn't watch it. The only point I didn't address was the stuff about the New Year's stream. Okay,
that was literally the heart of the fucking thing. That's why I finalized the snake thing. The only thing I didn't address was the evidence of your behavior and why I'm saying you're a snake. The pattern of behavior. The other thing is, like, you pretend not to know everything when you're in a drama. You play ignorant. Put it all together, circumstantial, I admit, that's the evidence.
Even if others don't want to take this seriously, because most view this as entertainment, despite it actually affecting people's lives at the end of the day. And they will try to shame you for it. Although they'll probably deny that they're using shame, but that's absolutely what you'll find in here. The only other thing I could call it is concern trolling / gaslighting.
Bo Black's privacy is super fucking important. We gotta keep respect for it.
That's not the point. Now he's not. That I've never said that. I never virtue signaled on Bomax, not once.
The ironic part is, yeah, they can call it stupid all they want, despite how anti-intellectual it is at the end of the day. But when it really comes down to it, when you're doing that, why you're also playing stupid, as Tommy C points out rather obviously, it sort of cancels itself out.
On stream, because you would have had to address the Bobax and the Turkey Tom thing, which I made you do with the second video. You know, I think there's a certain amount of people in Chud's crowd, maybe a minority, that wanted to hear him answer this. That they watched it, maybe even people that said, Tommy, I think, one guy particularly, this guy Phoenix, I think you're jumping the gun. I think they wanted to hear your explanation. And I said in that first video, if you avoid this or play dumb, it's going to leave an empty taste in your audience's mouth. Well, it did, because a follow-up made you follow up.
So maybe he assumed that Nick had said something about it. I don't know.
No. I think it's a reach, because I think I explicitly told Chud it was private.
It was private. Yeah. So I think Chud.
No.
So Queeman tried to run defense. Queeman tried to run defense for Chud. I don't know if he was being sincere or not. And then Aiden comes in and says, I specifically told him. I'm pretty sure Nick told him too. And remember, when he said it on the New Year's stream, he said he didn't know. He didn't know that it wasn't already out, which of course 6 months later makes zero sense because it would have been a cash cow for any commentator, which he knew.
So, important question. Was Tommy C right here? Since all of this stems from the question of whether he should trust Chud logic or not, and Tommy C gave ample reasons for why he doesn't trust Chud, why he considers him a snake, and why he believes others shouldn't trust him either. So, the answer to that is yes. At the end of the day, that's not the biggest controversy in the world. Oh, an old school commentary streamer doesn't trust a newer drama streamer. Yeah, that alone isn't earth shattering. It probably wouldn't even fucking mattered at the end of the day. Except for, as I said before, Tommy has some pull among those who still have relative influencing the commentary community. I thought we learned 8 years ago it's base not to cover allegations until both sides responded. Weird how people acted with Tom, even though it was some of the least substantial accusations we've seen. Which is true from Willie Mac. And we have this guy. Remember when you accused Queeman and Augie of doxing with no evidence because your feelings got hurt? Fake news, cause crazy, cause I never did that. I said I was doxed by Queeman's unhinged viewers, which is what he said. Then I criticized Queeman for giving a hypothetical where I deserved it. You guys are just making stuff up. I've offered to talk to Augie, show him behind the scenes if he's still confused. And it continues on, which got my interest. Well, the Tom stuff got my interest up. Queeman chimes in. Funny enough, someone probably alerted them to it. But here is where it's more interesting to me, because this is where my part one sort of looked into over the top hyperbolic video that it might be. So I'm taking a more serious approach this time around. That being said, I wanted to lay out all the previous background before moving forward. Now, I don't know if Willie Mac came out and said any of that stuff before, or if he was too busy doing his little honeymoon because he got married. But I think that tweet chain sort of highlights how Willie Mac's, but I think going over that real quickly is an important part. There were several things that made me want to do what is really going to serve as my part two. But I figured I would get any of the background stuff that people might not be aware of out there and bring us back to the present date. Because there wasn't much I could do coverage-wise besides making the hyperbolic video pointing out, yes, there isn't 100% proof for this doxing claim from Queeman's viewers, but dismissing it outright, and especially with the comparison to the Dark Viper thing that Dickers did, is a little absurd. Because I swear, it's like they hyper-focus on the doxing claim and throw everything else out that Willie said in that video and treat it like it doesn't matter. Because Queeman was slandered by him somehow, even though it was his viewers he accused of doxing him on Kiwi Farms. So the real question is, do other accounts in that Kiwi Farms thread, which some of them have doxed people before, as I highlighted in my last video, like Blab/Stranger Me, person Willie highlighted, I'll get into that in a bit. The Sup Puppet account, it's a burner. So why Willie can't prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that this specific person who doxed him on Kiwi Farms watches Queeman, what he does present and didn't really do before, that the doxer likely watches Queeman, J-Stock, or someone else in their circle who pushes this narrative about Willie's first video, which is the sort of the criticism of Queeman that came out of that. That's luckily ignored for the slandering shit there. Now, I could go further and argue that Willie is entirely correct, but I'm not going to do that here. because it's a strange hill for both Willie and his critics to die on. What I will point out, the fact that everyone is ignoring what Willie said about his criticism of Queeman was more for the hypothetical, where Queeman says, by Destiny's standards, he deserved it. Why is he using Destiny standards for someone who isn't Destiny? Seems a little bit of guilt by association that is run under the assumption that his grand narrative is absolutely 100% the truth. And I don't think he can fucking back it up because his evidence for that is flimsy as shit. And the fact that that stuff gets overlooked and rarely is ever even addressed is rather telling.
They hate Destiny so much they're ignoring the very reality we live in.
Then there's the Hutch stream, where Hutch talks about messaging Queeman, and Queeman refusing to budge and making him seem like he's being pressured unfairly to change his opinion to what amounts to a completely subjective and arguably weak definition, labeling Hutch as a Destiny orbiter.
They see like going after people like me and fucking other people as that's their way of going after Destiny.
Hutch is my boy. Hutch is my boy.
Insane. Like I have nothing to do with Destiny.
Okay, that's a lie.
Like I literally have nothing to do with it.
Kind of a lie, isn't it, Hutch? Nothing to do? No, you do.
That's one thing I will say. Listen, that's one thing I will say is like I reached out to Kuimon and I was
it's like me saying I've got nothing to do with Chud, right? Obviously that would be a total lie. Do we coordinate and everything? Is everything like, totally, are we fucking on the same team? No, it's like, I know him, I've received promotion from him. To say I've got nothing to do with him would be an absurd claim. That would be retarded.
How weird this fucking is. Queeman appears to be using his own invented definition of orbiter while openly admitting to being a Chud logic orbiter himself, who himself has admitted to being orbiting Destiny at one point in time in the past.
like, I asked him to tell his audience, hey, can you tell you, like, I would like you to tell your audience that I'm not a fucking orbiter. This is just not true.
This is literally, imagine I go around and I demand someone tell their audience, tell your audience I'm not a Chud orbiter.
Now, this seems to be done to make Hutch look dishonest somehow, why Queeman is the oddest one, at least rhetorically, if you analyze this shit here. Just because Queeman accepts the orbiter label, does that really mean Hutch has to accept the one Queeman placed on him? It's rather odd. Then Queeman tries to make it out like Hutch is trying to place the fault for him being dogs, being all Queeman's fault.
If you don't tell your audience that I'm not a Chud orbiter, then it's your fault that I got doxed. If you don't tell them that right now, it's your fault I got doxed. That's what he was doing. That's what this guy was doing in DMs with me. He was pulling up KF boats going, oh, isn't it so bad? This is your guy. They're doing this because you tell us Destiny orbiter. Like, that was the whole fucking conversation.
Something Hutch didn't even talk about on the stream, Queeman is finally addressing, which I think I can think of the argument Queeman would say, well, he's doing it in response to fucking WillyMac's fucking little video. Yeah, but he does all this after saying this and Queeman acknowledging it.
People in that space, I'm not going to say it's like him or technically like specifically his community, but people in that space then...
Okay, look. We will give Hutch credit. That's better than Willy. That's better than Willy. He hasn't seen evidence to show that it's directly from me, so he's not claiming that. That's better than Willy. I take that. I take that. That is smarter than Willy. That's better than Willy. That's more honest than Willy. I support that. I take that. We take it where we can get it. Maybe he throws it away. Maybe he fucks it up.
Like, it's so absurd. I do want to laugh, but thinking about it anywhat logically just fucking breaks my brain. On top of that, the sort of word doxing has almost lost all meaning online. You have the actual definition, then you have what people mean when they say dox, then you have a particular group of people who like to just make up whatever definition suits them for doxing. But let me just point out, a sort of needed element is the malicious use of someone's personal info at the end of the day. People focus on the personal information part without really factoring in the malicious use element that actually makes it so pragmatic. In this case, Willie, the person whose personal information was maliciously spread, certainly did not view Destiny sharing his and his wife's information as malicious. And I can admit, that's Willie's opinion on that, and he could be wrong. It's not a factual thing. It could have been some 4D chess move from fucking Destiny to do this, to maliciously align fucking Willie because he did a video, as he pointed out. I still don't buy it, but if there's an argument for why this was Destiny trying to spread WillyMac's docs in a malicious manner that isn't just fucking concern trolling bullshit, I would like to hear it because I haven't seen it done before. But maybe I just missed whoever made that argument within the hours and hours of content created by these community members, and to find every fucking moment that they do this would be impossible, at least without collective action, which they're big fans of. Compare that to when others like Bad Empanada and Queeman spread that same information, sort of what WillyMac was fucking pointing out in his video. What do you think the purpose of that was? It's really hard to argue it wasn't malicious when it's clear that it's being weaponized against him.
What bothered me most in this moment was the narrative that I deserve it, or that it's part of some greater Destiny justice. If Queeman pulled up my docs and only said Bad Empanada sucks for this, I wouldn't care. It's the dog whistle call to action that's the problem. It's so obvious.
And the fact that this distinction even needs to be clarified here shows how distorted the term has even become. And also notice who keeps bringing this up. Is this Willie? No, this comes on the back of allegations of Turkey Tom, and they will just keep on trying to use this while acting dumb about everything else around it. Time loses all fucking meaning, it seems.
Do you know how time works?
Now, maybe there's an argument WillyMac shouldn't have clarified his position again, but that's essentially saying he shouldn't defend himself against false claims being made about him while others are jumping to get totally back to reinterrogate this actual hyper-autistic, hyper-focused fucking little thing here. The way people immediately jump on it every time he even brings it up or says anything related to anything around this shit show is simply absurd. And notice how in this tweet thread, he was willing to explain this to Augie, but that gets just brushed aside. Sweep, sweep, sweep. I'm using sweep in a different way, because the way they use it is retarded. And just think about it. Who turned it into content instead of addressing it privately with their so-called friend or whatever the fuck relationship Willie and AugieRFC actually have? Also, it seems like I need to explain why the Dark Viper comparison is fucking brain dead stupid. Because I've seen enough people with enough influence make it, so I feel the need to actually explain why it doesn't actually fucking work. So here's what Willie actually said in his video titled, "The Most Soy Man Alive Threatens Me."
And what we're going to do is we're going to spend the next 3 weeks digging up every single embarrassing thing that Dark Viper's ever done publicly and making content out of it. No, I'm not really going to do that, okay?
In the same way that even though Chud was entirely legally and ethically in the wrong, and he knew that, Chud still made these demands of his viewers that made a thread about me and doxed me to thousands of people.
Any proof of that, Sherlock? Chud's video came out November 15th, 2023. Viper's Kiwi Farms thread didn't come out till March 23rd, 2024. Over 4 months later. You're prescribing a doxing allegation to his community based on nothing. It's crazy.
See, if you were paying attention, it really wasn't about if it was a Chud Logic viewer who created the Kiwi Farms thread that doxed Dark Viper. Because for anyone paying attention to what WillyMac actually said, they will realize that Willie never made that argument. He's simply pointing out there's no proof that they did that. Wait, more importantly, something that it seems everyone misses going over this clip is more about the time difference when Dark Viper pulls those clips from Chud Logic and when the fucking Kiwi Farms thread was actually created.
Do you know how time works?
Suggesting whatever information Chud got from his viewers couldn't have come from that thread. Yes, it could have ended up on that thread, but that's a moot point. Suggesting whatever information Chud got from his viewers to make those streams on Dark Viper couldn't have come from that thread. So why would have it needed to be created? That makes it very misleading and probably very dishonest for Dark Viper to imply that Chud Logic's request for his viewers to find dirt on him is what directly fueled doxing of him via Kiwi Farms, or that Chud used any information from that Kiwi Farms thread for his coverage of Dark Viper, at least for the highlighted examples that he uses in his video on WillyMac, which, as far as Willy and Logic's concerned, that just couldn't have fucking happened.
Do you know how time works?
Compare that to WillyMac's claim about his docs.
The truth is, Bad Empanada did not originate my docs. He maliciously spread it everywhere.
There's the maliciously spread part. That's a very important element to the definition of docs. So the question is, did the people who maliciously spread WillyMac's docs after it was posted on Kiwi Farms being criticized? They want to get butthurt that WillyMac didn't see fucking what Destiny did with his personal information as a docs? Yeah, I think you can have that fucking opinion there. Still, this sort of comparison that you saw from Dickers and many other people in fucking women's sort of circle, comparing what WillyMac said about Dark Viper to what he said about Queeman, seems like one of the most brain-dead attempts to make WillyMac look like a hypocrite that I've ever fucking seen in commentary.
This comment, Willy refuses to acknowledge the obvious, that Destiny is the biggest proponent in spreading his docs. No, it was actually Bad Empanada who did that. Do you know how time works?
Now, frankly, I wish Willy would have laid out more of this detail back then, but it's his life, his video, and maybe he did in private circles and finally came out with it now, and I missed something. And even in the example he gives here, it seems like J-Stock is being named. So, yeah, slightly bad example, Willy. But if you actually rewatch WillyMac's video and try to make sense of it in context...
Actually, Max.
He's got a shit-eating grin on his face. He knows what he's doing. This then gets retweeted by his friend J-Stock, who pushed the exact same narratives about.
It makes total and utter sense. Yeah, so it's almost a distinction without a difference, at least from WillyMac's point of view at this point in time. At the same time, I can understand the logic of not wanting to draw any more excessive attention to the actual doxers on Kiwi Farms. Some of them really get off on that shit. And the refusal of others to acknowledge this context at this point makes them look incredibly dumb or outright dishonest, or just totally content hyper narrow tunnel brain. Now, if I wanted to get conspiracy brain in this particular video, you could interpret all of this as some sort of 4D chess move to test Tommy C's speculation about Chud Logic and his orbiters being snakes or bad faith or whatever.
He tried to do his best with this situation. He just really sucks. He just sucks. He sucks at his job, and Kel was stupid for going over there. So no conspiracy. So, but I'll be honest with you, I was a little suspicious. So Dickers gets a hold of me and says he wants to talk to me. He's demanding to talk to me. I was like, look, just call me during open phones. There you go. Call me. That's it. Call me during open phones. And I figured to myself, well, I'll be fair. I won't go down the conspiracy route. I'll just take it out as it comes. I don't know if he's connected to those guys or not. I'm pretty sure at some level he was, because he actually made a reference that I actually didn't hear at the time of it happening to that joke, that clip. So now I'm like, looking back with hindsight, I'm like super suspicious.
What you send to girls on Discord when they're 14, okay? Don't be calling me a fucking terrible person. Don't you be talking about fucking background checks, all right?
No, at the time I'd heard something completely different. And then he goes on to say he was joking. So I was like, oh, maybe it's just a bad joke. Yeah, joke that fell flat. It's only when I went back and actually edited this sucker when I realized, oh, he's making a reference, and you know, a bunch of guys that are kind of shoehorn me into being a legit creep rather than some of the fun stuff we get to do on love phones.
So, yeah.
But that's secondary and speculative. I'm just adding this in to see what people do with it. Now, if someone genuinely believes Queeman did not have malicious intent when he baited commentary creators by showing off WillyMac's docs,
quote tweeting it. So I'm just a bit like perplexed as to like, okay, so we can have a problem with Queeman playing it. You might think he did it on purpose even. I don't agree with that, but even if he did, let's say he did, okay? Have a problem with that. What about this? This also is spreading it. No?
On stream, along with the hypothetical about he deserved it, of course, by Destiny standards.
But instead of anyone actually acknowledging this, they do what Bad Empanada did and try to hypocrisy hunt to justify their actions. They're like, why aren't you mad at Destiny? He quote tweeted your docs too.
Why aren't you mad at Destiny himself?
Destiny's defending my already viral docs that's already in the hands of all of the people who hate me. We're acting like context and scale don't matter. It was actually kind of nice to see someone with a big audience who I've criticized in the past stand up for me and say this is wrong. But look at this comment. Willie.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell them. Good job, concern trolling or fucking pushing this utter bullshit. Now, you can criticize Willie all you want for speculating or knowing more than he's letting on publicly that the doxer may have been a Queeman viewer without showing the receipts. That's fine, that's fine. But it's undeniable that at least one viewer in Queeman's orbit has engaged in this doxing behavior, and Queeman is absolutely fine with any harassment that comes out of any of his fucking reporting. He doesn't care. It's defended. And it's his right to do that, but him being a bitch about it and whining he's being slandered when he's so full of shit and willing to do this, and his excuse is, yeah, if they're dumb enough to believe it because I don't present the proper evidence, they deserve it. That's his sort of fucking logic from before, and I don't believe him if he doesn't extend it now, despite what he fucking says. Reducing the entire argument to one disputed point is just, wow. Also, why presenting the broader standard doesn't exist for at least these content creators, and acting like it shouldn't be something that exists in commentary online somehow, when these dipshits come from the Twitch poll fucking space and was kicked out of it for probably similar antics, but I don't have the evidence to back up that claim, so that's speculative, by the way. Now, all this is what makes the response to WillyMac feel really unreasonable, and somehow they are baiting this out so they can play a fucking base-ass victimhood status WillyMac's reasoning for saying this without having 100% ironclad proof of this, which again is utterly absurd. On that particular matter, I rest my case, at least in this video. I know I left some dangling threads in this video. Leave that for another video or not deal with it at all, because I've done a few streams edging around that topic. But since Chud is back officially as I'm recording this, who the hell knows when it's going to come out, I just want to bring up a couple of little things as I wrap this video up. So I found this interesting at the time. And, cause I'm a lazy bit, I lost interest once he got into the Turkey Tom video. I'm more interested in how he pushed on the age play angle. I remember Nick would have to disavow Tom over. Seemed like a weird thing from Nick to bring up. Definitely did. Thought it might have been bait, but who the fuck knows with that. Then Aiden, who was in the doghouse, from being exposed for having dox info of Lio Convoy's wife with Chud Logic in his icy chat. Again, talked about that in streams, not that anyone fucking should really care. Pushing out the thing about what Lerix told him, and suddenly it was like Aiden was out of the doghouse. Not completely, but it's an interesting thing. And then they started pushing that sort of angle. Then there was the whole thing about Kai's response. I vaguely remember talking to harmful opinions about that on X. I need to see look it back on that. And that's me doing that now. This is what I was talking about. Chud logic, irrational Chad. Turkey Tom's ex, Kai, the one who bounced between him and Lerix, has released a document about her relationship with Dom. In it, she contests Aiden's claim about age play. Probably because Aiden just heard it from Lerix, apparently. Is she sweeping, or did Aiden push misinformation to get the heat off himself for doxing claims? Pause and read if you want, or go to the fucking tweet. I don't care. That is not really relevant here. Fuck it, dude, I'm leaking. Kai's into age play. Lerix told me when he first broke up with her. Okay, so there's the doc. I have opinions. Let me not pull harmful opinions into that. You can see this. You can see that. Not really important. It's all out there publicly if you want to look into it. So we got that. Let me end up with this. This is the sort of shit in Chud Logic's coverage of Turkey Tom that I'm curious to see if he addresses. Always miss with the S. Given who he is obviously talking about here.
It's my muzzle.
You wear this?
Yes.
But why?
Because.
You actually sleep in the cage? You actually sleep in here?
I like.
Bro, there is a weird energy here, right? Like they're kind of like quite flirtatious, you know. There's certainly a flirtatious energy here. Doesn't Tartager's people going to sweep? Well, hang on, no, dude. But the big ones are all going to read everything live, say it's bad, and drop them instantly. Watch that not happen. And also, I don't think this is, dude. I'm not even saying at this stage it's bad enough to drop him over. Like, bro, dude. Dude, one of the most frustrating things about doing this is not being understood, man. I've laid it out as clearly as I can, okay? It's very obvious that Turkey Tom will get grace on this that wouldn't be given to other creators. Because you could, you know, make a video about Hassan doing this, and, right? You get it. It's simple. It's simple to understand. Like, I'm not saying you should cut off Tom for this even, right? That's not what I'm saying at all. It's just, you know, my thought process here is that he is, as we speak, getting more grace. There's people in chat that are coming in and are insisting it's a nothing burger. And it's like, look, I don't think it's particularly compelling as it stands, because there's lots of stuff that isn't evidenced. It's just, why is your instinct to sweep? Because I feel... Dude, wait a second. Wasn't there something with this recently? I didn't really follow it because it's fucking Assam related. And I think he apparently claimed to be a furry... Claims he was a furry or something. Some people were pushing it without it being verified or something like that. And it's like, that's the kind of energy that some people bring to Assam. It's like instantaneous. Oh, WillyMac was it? Yeah, instantaneously pushing something.
Oh, WillyMac did that? Evidence, Chud? No, you got it from a chatter. Do I need to say any more? With that said, I'm done. There's a lot more to be covered, and I'm willing to fucking do a stream afterwards if it doesn't seem like a waste of time. 'Cause there's more I can add, but I would just be screaming into the void if no one's really paying attention.